smart move because you have been able to save the money. Okay. Now I take you to the core of PRINCE2, the 7 principles and what do they mean. Please understand that PRINCE2 is a principle-based approach and can therefore be applied regardless of project scale, type, organization, geography, or culture. Principles are guiding obligations and good practices, which determine whether the project is genuinely being managed using PRINCE2 or not. Okay, so this is the benchmark. Principles are characterized by 3 headings. Universal, that is, they apply to every project. You may believe it or not, you may like it or not, but they are at work. Okay, they're universal. Secondly, they're self-validating. That is, they have been proven in practice over many years. So that is why we know that they will work always. There are no chances for them not to work. Then thirdly, and very importantly, they are empowering because they give the practitioners of the method added confidence and ability to influence and shape how the project will be managed. Okay, now with that background, let me introduce you to the 7 principles of PRINCE2. There are 7 principles, and unless all of them are applied, it is not a PRINCE2 project. Okay, so if you ever hear about an organization which says PRINCE2 didn't work for me, you have to check up, go to the root and find out, were they following all these 7 PRINCE2 principles? Okay, I will take you through all the 7 principles one by one. Okay, the first principle is continued business justification. Now, as you understand by the term business justification, it means that why are we doing the project? Is there really a burning need? Is the project justified? And as you see a scale at the bottom of the screen, it is about looking at the return on investment. How much money is going into the project versus the benefits, the tangible benefits, intangible benefits, the benefits or the disbenefits. All the aspects have to be kept in mind, and not just for the current year, but for few years. Okay, so we would rather look at the big picture. That is called business justification. So the principle says that a PRINCE2 project has continued business justification. A requirement for a PRINCE2 project is that there is a justifiable reason to start it and continue investing in it. That is, not just in the beginning, but while it is going on and when it ends. At all point of time, we are keeping the viability of the project on the table. Although the justification should remain valid, it may change. Okay, so the justification may change over a period of time because the market changes, the circumstances change. It's a dynamic world we are living in. As I mentioned earlier, that we cannot really close our doors to change. So, but we will continue to run the project in PRINCE2 as long as there is feasibility there. And this justification is documented and approved within a business case document. If for whatever reason the project can no longer be justified, the project should be stopped. Okay, so the project should be stopped. I move to the next principle. This principle says learn from experience. And how you can remember this principle is that fools learn from their own mistakes, but wise people learn from other people's mistakes. So this is what we do in PRINCE2. PRINCE2 project teams learn from previous projects' experience. Lessons are sought, recorded, and acted upon throughout the life of the project. In PRINCE2, learning from experience should be used when starting a project, as the project progresses, and as the project closes. So you have to understand, when a new project manager starts a project, of course he has no knowledge, he has no database to learn from. So he banks upon the organizational's lessons learned repository or the lessons knowledge base of the organization. That were similar projects done in the past and what was the fate that they meet? How did things go? What was done if such a problem was encountered? So right in the very beginning, in the first process, which is called startup a project, the lessons are sought from the organization. And as the project progresses, each Prince2 project manager keeps on gathering their own lessons. The lessons can also be of two types. One, the things that they would like others in organization to reproduce. Something that they learn, a tip, a trick, a new thing which helps the process, which increases the efficiency or the productivity. And the second kind of lessons are the pitfalls to avoid. So if they have fell for something, or if they were, they made a mistake, they will log it so that in future other project managers are wiser by their mistakes and do not commit the same issue again. Okay, so eventually if you look at the bottom line, it is very beneficial for the organization because we are becoming wiser with each passing project. And as the project closes, this good database of learnings is added to the central repository of the organization to enrich it. Okay, so this is the principle which is at work during the project life. I take you to the third principle, which is define roles and responsibilities. A Prince2 project has defined and agreed upon roles and responsibilities within an organization that engages all stakeholders' interests. Now, as you understand, the term stakeholder can be referred to for someone who can be influenced by or who is capable of influencing the products of your project. So this is a standard definition of being a stakeholder. So even if there is a vendor who's supplying some hardware and software into your project, you may like it or not, but he is indeed a stakeholder into your project. Because if a poor raw material can kill your project, then the person is a stakeholder. And anybody who gets impacted is a stakeholder. All Prince2 projects should have the following three primary stakeholders, and they're better known as BUS, the business, user, and the supplier. Okay, so the acronym that you should remember for organization is BUS. Business is somebody. So we are talking about some senior people here, people who are decision makers, who have the signing authority with them. Business is somebody like a sponsor who endorses the objectives and ensures that the business investment provides value for the money. So you have to think of business as the voice of the organization. This person is also called the executive in Prince2 and looks at or watches or guards the interest of the company, the people who are funding the project. The second representation is from the user community. Now this person, typically called a senior user, is the representative of the people who will use the products of your project. Okay, so if you're typically manufacturing sales software, then the head of sales and marketing maybe should be your senior user, because that person would be most well placed to give you the requirements of what do they want, because they have to use it. So users will use the products to enable them to gain the intended benefits. So these are the people who will use your product and then be able to provide the benefits to the organization. So there is a very thin difference between business and users, so you have to understand that. And supplier, as the word suggests, are the people who will provide the resources, the hardware, software, expertise into the project. And now these people may be internal or external. Okay, so even external vendors can be represented into your project board in Prince2 because they are a stakeholder. They can impact the product at the end. Now let me take you to the fourth principle, which is manage by stages. And the punchline for you to remember this principle is eat the elephant bit by bit. A PRINCE2 project is planned, monitored, and controlled on a stage-by-stage basis. This style of planning helps overcome the issue of planning horizon. Let's say, if you have to go from, say, Delhi to Chennai, you cannot plan the whole, the car journey in one shot. What you see is only the next maybe 10 kilometers and 100 kilometers, and this is how the journey is done. Similarly, for the project planning also, we plan only what is worth planning or what can be planned with a lot of credibility. So these decision points, which are called stage ends, are the control points where the project board or the senior members of the directing level will look into the project. Okay, so this is where the project manager gets in touch with the director's level for decision making. So that is a stage end typically. Management stages provide senior management with control points. And PRINCE2 requires that there should be at least 2 management stages in any project, however small it may be. One initiation stage and at least one more further management stage. So you cannot plan the mammoth project in one go. You are bound to fail. So the idea is to break it into eatable chunks so that you can plan it, dissect it, and then execute it step by step. This is the principle. The fifth principle on the same lines is manage by exception. And the punchline for you to remember it by is no news is good news. This is the principle which enables the director level or the senior managers to manage by exception, that is by putting very little time. PRINCE2 enables appropriate governance by defining distinct responsibilities for directing, managing, and delivering the project, and clearly defining accountability at each level. Accountability is established by delegating authority from one management level to the next by setting tolerances against any of the 6 objectives. So the boss can say that for the time tolerance, you can go plus 15 days and minus 15 days. Or for the cost, you can go say $10,000 in plus or minus. For quality, I can accept 2 bugs per million, or similarly, they can set tolerances. And once the tolerances are set for the level of authority, as soon as the tolerances are forecast to be exceeded, please mark my word forecast here. If tolerances are forecast to be exceeded, they are immediately referred up to the next management layer. This is management by exception, that your boss has set some tolerances for you and he has given you full control because he believes and he trusts your judgment that as soon as those tolerances are forecast to be exceeded, you will knock on their door and take their permission to go, to the next level. And you will be roped in again for the decision making. So a PRINCE2 project manager should be thought of as a delegate of the project board who is executing the project on their behalf on a day-to-day basis. But the decision making is completely controlled at the directing level, that is the project board level, the bus that we talked about. And as I said, tolerances can be set against any of the 6 variables of time, cost, quality, scope, risk, and benefit. I take you to the 6th principle, which is focus on products. This principle talks about how to give full attention on the end As the punchline says, begin with the end in mind. This is also the Stephen Covey's second habit. If some of you would know, begin with the end in mind. The same holds true for PRINCE2 products. A PRINCE2 project focuses on the definition and delivery of products, in particular their quality requirements. So once you know what you have to create and of what quality you have to create, it would be much easier. A PRINCE2 project uses product descriptions to define each product's purpose, composition, derivation, format, quality criteria, and quality method. Now this is the way PRINCE2 manages it. So PRINCE2 says that we do not leave any ambiguity towards defining the product, what we want. Because if it is well defined, then whoever may create it, but we will have complete control on the quality of the end deliverable. Using the product-based planning technique, which is one of the techniques that PRINCE2 advises, the PBB technique supports this particular principle, since it ensures that the end product is clearly identified first and foremost, and then reverse engineering is done to identify the related products, tasks, or activities. Okay, so there is very little chance for you to go wrong when you have put your final product on the pedestal and you do your backtracking and you plan your sub-products or you plan your activities in the reverse engineering model. So you do a product breakdown structure similar to a work breakdown structure, and then you define your activities to create those sub-products. So eventually your final product would only be an accumulation of all those sub-products. Now I take you to the seventh principle, which is tailor to suit the project environment. And how I like to explain it is never cut with a knife what you can cut with a spoon. PRINCE2 is tailored to suit the project's environment, size, complexity, importance, capability, and risk. Now all of us know each project is unique. No two projects are similar. Okay, so how can one process apply to all kinds of projects? It is not possible. This is the USP of PRINCE2, that it allows tailoring. The purpose of tailoring is to ensure that the project management method relates to the project's environment. It also ensures that the project controls are based on the project scale, complexity, importance, capability, and risks. So if the process becomes more bureaucratic or cumbersome than the core work of the project, then trust me, nobody would like to follow the project management method. We have to be smart enough to be able to tailor the process depending upon the size of the project and the criticality of the project. So it's not one medicine that cures all the evils. So PRINCE2 can be tailored. The core project management group of the organization can advise different methodologies, not really methodologies, can make available different tailored approaches to different kind of projects. And this is what enables all types of projects to be using PRINCE2 without compromising on the quality. Now coming towards the end.